All right, one win, one loss on the day, up 2R. I'll take it. That's a good day. So let's do a trade day recap. And yeah, let's dive in with the higher time frame analysis. I'll show you what I was thinking. Now, coming in today, one thing I want to keep in mind, this is my first day trading actually for this year. So pretty excited to get back to trading. I was kind of waiting for price action to show me that it wanted to play nicely before I got involved. Last week I saw several good setups, and then Monday we had a good setup. So yeah, so excited to get back to trading today. We are in this weekly range. So here on the weekly chart, since the 1st of December, we've just been ranging. And so I'm keeping that in mind. But going into the daily chart, while I was more bearish on the day ultimately. What we had is Tuesday's candle that closed below this swing low. And that's a big indication for me. Like this candle here, for example, if we look at this candle, it swept this low and then it closed back above it. Whereas this candle here, it swept that low and then it closed below it. Additionally, there's this volume imbalance right here, and volume imbalances are like magnets for price. And so it often comes back for these volume imbalances before continuing on. But it not only came back for that volume imbalance, it closed below. So for me, I was feeling like the draw on liquidity was lower. We have these relative equal lows here on the daily chart. What else? We have this volume imbalance down in here. So for me, the draw on liquidity is still lower. And we also have this trend line liquidity. So this point right here, 2, 3. We've already taken 2 of those 4. So I would like to see it probably come back down to at least take this low before it's going to come back up and take these highs up in here. Now, that said, even though I'm a little more bearish, there's reasons to go higher too. So we want to balance these out. We have on the daily chart, there's no tail on that candle. And here we have the new week opening gap on the 30-minute chart that we haven't tapped into. And on the 4-hour chart, if we look, it came back, price this morning came back down. Actually, all this week, it came back down into this discount fair value gap, which was at the 786 level. And we also have a little bit of a volume imbalance right down here too. And I don't think that's actually a tailless candle. There is a tiny tail on there. I'm actually going to leave that just in case. So it's one of those points where it's like I'm more bearish than bullish, but I can also see it either way. And so what we had this morning is the 6 a.m. 4-hour candle. We had these relative equal lows building up, and that 6 a.m. 4-hour candle, it swept those lows. And we do have a bearish SMT down with all of these lows, but we don't have a bearish SMT down with this low in any of these lows. So it was kind of made me wonder if it was going to come up here, and this was just more of a retracement, take some liquidity. If we look at the 1-hour chart, that's pretty much what it did. So here's this low down in here, and here's the 9 a.m. candle. So with the 9 a.m. candle running up, it looked like it was going to want to close above, turning these into inversions, turning this into a breaker, and possibly come up for these relative equal highs. So my primary bias was bearish, with my draw on liquidity being below, but I was also open to the possibility of longs this morning. So let's look at the 15-minute chart. Nothing on here that I really want to show at the moment. So figure out my hotkeys. I changed my hotkeys, so I got to get back to getting used to them. All right, so here we are on the 1-minute chart. Let's go to the 2-minute chart because that's where I took my trade. All right, so coming into this morning's session, there we go. All right, so here we can see my execution marks. We can see the 9:30 open. What happened this morning is right before the 9:30 open, price took the London high and formed a bearish SMT with YM. Now, all 3 assets, YM, ES, and NQ, took this London high, which ideally I would have liked to have seen one of them have come down, not taken the high, and then come down lower. I don't know if you can see that. It's a light gray line. There we go. And then form some kind of SMT like this. But we didn't get that. However, we did get a 15-minute SMT, which is enough for me to consider it. And then right at the end of the 940 macro, you can see this candle closed into the 940 macro at this relatively nice looking 2-minute inversion. The only downside was I saw some of this back and forth, but I was hoping with this solid closure below, solid rejection, these two candles look nice. I was hoping that it would actually run. So the other thing being, we tapped into this blue line here, which was the midnight open, and this red line, which is the previous day low. We were rejected off of those. So there was a lot of reason for price to go lower. We also had this trend line liquidity sitting right down there. Targets were just about 3R. So it looked good for a short, in my opinion. So I entered in this short, got stopped out on the very next candle, and was going to probably walk away. However, there was something I saw in the 1 minute that I really liked that caused me to do something I don't normally do, which is flip long right after taking a loss. I typically don't do that. But today I did. So if we go into the 1 minute chart, we can see this setup right here. So if we're looking just at the 15-minute chart, oh, let's see, that hotkey must do a symbol search. Need to fix that. We're looking just at the 15-minute chart. Here's the 930 open. It's starting to look a little bullish on the 15-minute chart. We had this candle come tap back down into this fair value gap and start to reject. So if it was going to be bullish, this is exactly what I would want to see. Even though it already took this previous session high, which in my opinion makes it a little less likely of a setup. So ideally I would want to see this, I would have want to have seen this session's liquidity remain intact, price come back down into this gap, and I would have been much more excited about a long coming up into here. But that's not what it did. That said, we still had these relative equal highs up in here. These were on the 1 hour chart that I showed you. So I was also eyeballing those, keeping those in mind. And so with this rejection off the new day opening gap, this fair value gap, and also the regular trading hours gap, I did see the potential for longs being there. All right, so let's switch over here to the lower time frame chart. And so when we come back to the 1 minute, obviously we tapped into that gap. And here's what I really like. This inversion looked nice. It was a nice sized gap. The second candle closed very strong above, leaving a volume imbalance. We're getting back above the midnight open, which is the blue line, and then the previous day high. Also, we had these relative equal highs right here. So I liked that locally. We had some good targets. So I went in on this one and rode it all the way until this blue line, which is the previous day equilibrium. I didn't really want to ride it much longer than that because I didn't know if it was going to want to go any further. And as we can see here, when I got out, it pretty much did consolidate right around the previous day equilibrium. Excuse me. And that also just so happened to be in alignment with 2.5 standard deviations of this breaker. So this breaker being this low to this high. So I was cool getting out of the trade there, which is my typical 3R target. Price did run all the way up to 4.5 to those equal highs on the 1 hour, but I don't care. I got my piece and I got out. So those are my two trade setups for the day. Up 2R, which is pretty okay. I'll take 2R on the day. And I'm pretty happy that price action is actually looking quite nice for this early in January. So we just need to keep an eye out for when price was in high resistance mode. We'll stay out of the charts when it looks like that. But as long as price keeps looking like this, I'm going to be stoked to start trading again. So yeah, that was the recap. If you want to hear more of these trade recap videos, give me a thumbs up or subscribe. I'll be pushing more of these out, and that way you'll be able to get them. But other than that, I'll see you later.